it's what I've been drawn to do. Spirit has spoken to me long ago. I actually had to leave a marriage because I wasn't encouraged to follow my spiritual path. And we know that that's not okay. And of course, when I did that, everything opened up. And that happens. Everything opens up when you're being instructed. And then you listen to it and you do it. And then everything, your whole new life begins. So today the topic is your birthright as a brilliant being, which Annette already talked about, your brilliance as a divine being. And the affirmation is, I am always at home in my Father's house. I accept my birthright as a child of God. And so what does that really mean, to accept your birthright as a child of God? I mean, that's kind of a big deal, I think. Because most of the time we were raised with this idea that we're human beings. And we have this human body and this material world, and then we're supposed to obligate ourselves to all of that. But I read something the other day from Hafiz, and he's an Eastern master and poet. And he said, see if you relate to this, love sometimes gets tired of speaking sweetly and wants to rip to shreds all our erroneous notions of the truth that make you fight within yourself and with others, causing the world to weep on too many fine days. The beloved sometimes wants to do us a great favor and hold us upside down and shake all the nonsense out. And I like that, because I think it's like what Annette is saying, so much nonsense is rolling around inside of us, and we want to shake it out sometimes. Or maybe we don't, but then the universe does, and it steps in. It steps in ways that I just described. It says, okay, it's time for you to get your silliness out of the way. And so what is your silliness? Your silliness is shame, guilt, anger, victimhood, fear, your addiction to needing approval, your addiction to being right, and the ego's concept of fairness. So we've been taught a whole system of beliefs in our culture that are basically erroneous. And so we have to work to get the silliness out. For instance, the whole idea that you must be liked at all times is a silliness. The idea that it's important that you never fail is silliness. Because failure from the human point of view is a completely different thing from our spiritual self. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about the dark night of the soul. And I was talking to Lena earlier, and we were talking about the changes that are going on in the world and the cosmos and all the urges that are taking place right now and how we're being pushed. And oftentimes, as human beings, we think that it's just terrible if we get sick, or it's terrible that we lose a job, or it's terrible that we lose a relationship or a friend or something, or somebody moves away that's important to us. And yet, what we really have to understand is that the universe nudging us. It's time. It's time to take the next step. It's time. And so having to give up something, having to walk away from a comfort and move into something that's unknown and maybe a little bit scary is actually the universe at work. And so it'll give you a chance to kind of do these things on your own. That wasn't a good job. That wasn't a place where you could express your true being. And so, you didn't move, so now I'm going to move you. And that's what happens, is we get moved, we get triggered, and we give up the nonsense, right? We give up the nonsense. So there's so many different ways that, I work with someone who wants to have control over everything, and I always laugh at her because, she's not going to have control over anything. And then when she tells me, actually, I do this a lot with clients, I'll laugh because they'll tell me how everything is wrong and bad and whatever, and then I start laughing. Because I know that what they're not seeing, that I am seeing, is the opportunity that's there for them. And so endings are sometimes viewed as terrible things, but they actually are beginnings. And so whatever we think is an ending, we have to remember is also a beginning. So that terrible job that really didn't give you a chance to express yourself and really didn't honor who you are, well, guess what? That has to end. Because who you are is so much bigger than that. And you are brilliant. And so we move into unknown territory. Unknown territory meaning the next job, the next boss, the next opportunity. I'm going to tell you all this stuff, so I'm going to simplify it for you though. So what we want to remember though is we're not physical beings. We're divine beings that are being led. And you are here on a mission. You are here on a mission. And so your job is to be in that mission, to love that mission, to express that mission. And then as scary as it is, you have to do it anyway. So years ago when I got this nudge that I had to learn how to speak in front of people. And I thought, oh my God, you know. But I knew I had to do it, I knew. And so I'm basically a shy person. Not anymore, actually. I'm pretty outgoing now, but at that point. And so I thought, okay, I always do what I'm told. Okay, I got it. So I set up a series of lectures where I was going to teach some of the things that I knew about metaphysics. And I started out, and I was really, really awful. Really awful. My knees shook, which you can hide, you know, and my voice quivered, which you can't hide. And I just really was a mess. And then but I was so grateful for the people that showed up because I thought they were my guinea pigs, you know. I didn't tell them that, but I thought, well, thank you for showing up and helping me through this process. And so after I did each lecture, I would stop and analyze what exactly happened just then and what made me nervous. What was I afraid of? And it helped me so much because I realized at some point in the lecture I relaxed. And why did I relax? What was I telling myself then that I wasn't telling myself in the beginning? And I realized one thing that has stood by me for my entire life. This was probably, if this is the only lesson I learned in this lifetime, it's a good one. And that is, you are here for them. You're not here for you. You're here for them. And that is true every single day of my life and your life. So when I realized that, I thought, okay, then what am I here to give? And each time I went out, I thought, what am I here to give today? And today I'm here to help you understand your brilliance. So, but once I understood that I had a message, I was here to give it. Who I am is just a channel. Gene doesn't really matter that much other than being a channel. And as a channel, I am exalted. So that's my story. Jesus said, of myself I do nothing. It is the Father within who doeth the work. And I know that this is true for every single person, that of yourself you do nothing. But that beautiful engineering idea, or that beautiful artistic project, or that beautiful haircut, or that beautiful way that you can fix a car engine, all of that is channeled through you. And then you get to enjoy that you've given that amazing gift to someone else. So that's what Einstein said, by the way. He said, understanding the mind of God is the most important thing. It's the only important thing. Everything else is a detail. And I thought, well, isn't that beautiful? Everything else is a detail. It is. It's all a detail. So he received a lot of accolades for these beautiful sayings that he did. But all along the way, he used his imagination to get on a light beam and zoom out into the cosmos and allow the cosmos to teach him that there is such a thing as the unified field and the law of relativity. But he in himself, he knew that was spirit flowing through him. Whatever, he called it the quantum field, he called it the unified field. That's really what it is. We're in a unified field, and it's love. And so we get to be in this field. We get to channel it. And so if you're playing it safe, In this particular time that we're in, with all the cosmic changes and all the nudges that we're being given, you know, if you're playing it safe, you're probably going to have a rough time. You know, I give a lot of credit to people who even leave the earth and say, they're kind of finished. They're getting ready for the next chapter, you know, and they leave it with grace. And that's a beautiful thing. So each one of us has a gift. We're challenged. I have a friend who was a client of mine for a long time, and she would say, well, Jean, I'm not comfortable with that. And I go, well, I'll make up her name, Kitty. That's not her name. Don't you understand that comfort is your enemy? Comfort is your enemy. Comfort is your enemy. And she resisted, and she resisted. And then one day it occurred to her that she wanted to be with her daughter and her grandkids, and they lived in a different state. So she had this amazing real estate business here in St. Louis. I mean, really made a lot of money and helped a lot of people. And so she decided to move to Seattle. And she had to completely start over. But she was with her daughter and her grandchildren, which is what she was nudged to do. She was nudged to do that because the people in Seattle needed her great talents. So she created a whole new business, new laws, new everything in Seattle with real estate. She is so successful. She is so successful. She told me the other day that she made $500,000 last year. So of course, real estate's pretty high over there, but nevertheless, I mean, she's done very well that way. But she also has this other part of her life that's full. So we don't always know what the picture is. In fact, most of the time we don't know what the picture is. I knew that when I left that marriage, that where I wasn't supported to be in my fullness, that I knew I had to do that. I didn't know what it was going to lead to, but it led to a lot of different things. It led to a lot of connection. It led to me being the person that I want to be. It led to a lot of opportunity to teach others, to share with others, to give to others, to encourage others, to empower others. And I know that that was my mission. So sometimes, you know, we go through painful experiences, but the thing is, we don't have to suffer. Because when we include God in our experience, when we rise above it, as Einstein said, when we go above the problem, and we use a different mindset than the one we created the problem with, when we go above it, we see answers. We see ways that we reconcile ourselves. We can move into the unknown and be at peace with the unknown. We can be at peace with the unknown. So here's a story I love to tell. It's one of my favorite Bible stories, and you know I love the Bible. So it's about the prodigal son. And so I'm going to tell you this story the way I see it, and that is that there's this very wealthy man who has these sons. And the younger son, of course the younger son, says to the dad, listen, I really would like to venture out on my own. And he thinks I'm familiar here. And I would like my portion of the inheritance so I can go do this. And the father says, well, okay, I'll do that. So he divides the property and he gives his son his portion of the inheritance. Of course, his son is youth, right? And so the son goes off and he's adventuring in the material world, and he's fooling around and trying to figure things out maybe. And then he hangs out with some, not so great people. And what happens is he loses all his money. He gambles it away. He's stolen from. He hangs out with harlots. I mean, he really just does the whole thing. And ultimately, there's a famine that hits the land. And this is you again, okay? And so he makes a contract with a very rich man that he's going to feed the hogs. He's going to feed the pigs and the hogs. And that's how he's going to make enough money to survive. Is the name of the game, survival. So he's feeding the pigs, which is representative at the very lowest energies. symbolically. It symbolizes the very lowest energy. So he's hanging out with the pigs, wanting to eat from their fodder. And it occurs to him, this is us again, that maybe I've got this wrong. Maybe I need to go back to my father, because even the servants in his house do better than this. They're fed, they have nice clothes, they have a nice life. Maybe it's time for me to go back home, and I no longer qualify to be the son. I don't qualify for that anymore because I blew it. Sound familiar? And so, but I'll see if I can just be a servant, and then I know I can eat and have a nice life. So he starts back. And the interesting part is that the father sees him coming from afar. And he goes out to his son and he hugs him and he kisses him and he's just so happy. And he says, you were dead and now you're alive. You know, you were lost and now you're found. And I think about this with so many people, and of course myself as well, you know, that we turn and we go back. And the son's going, but Dad, listen, you know, I'm a really cruddy son, and I've made all these mistakes, and I squandered my inheritance, and I just don't qualify to be your son anymore. Guess what happens? The father completely ignores that. He doesn't even hear it, don't hear it. Let's have a party, we're going to kill the fatted calf, bring him a new robe, which is a new outer expression, and give him a ring which represents commitment and connection, and bring him some new sandals because that represents spiritual foundation. And the father just doesn't hear all the like, oh, I'm no good, and I did this, and I failed on that, right? Because that's the truth of it all. What he said was, I'm glad you're home. You were dead, now you're alive. You were lost, and now you're found. And so this is for everyone. I think that there are those moments, because I don't think you're lost. I don't think that you're dead. But I do think there are those moments when we maybe lose ourselves, you know, and that was talking about with the chattering mind and all that. When we get quiet, when we go within, when we reconnect, we're back home. And we can have the opportunity to get the answers that we need. So there's no judgment in God. There's no judgment. So part of the silliness that we want to get rid of is the judgment. We want to let go of all of that, because what we truly are, and this brings us to the message for the day, is what we truly are is an expression of God. So we're hanging out here as physical beings because it offers us a channel through which we can speak our truth, through which we can give our gifts, through which we can express love. And that's what this channel is all about. And so when we use it for that instead of survival, when we use it for that, we will survive, number one, but we will also be able to be in a more exalted state. We will be able to live the brilliance that we're designed to be. So we have a new script. First of all, Jesus said, one more quote from Jesus, don't worry about what goes in the mouth, worry about what comes out of the mouth. Because what comes out of the mouth expresses who we are on the inside. And so we want to be in that expression, in that highest expression, and give love, and give compassion, and give concern, and give truth. Give truth to whatever degree we understand it, and keep that growing, and keep that expanding. Our new script that we let this chattering mind take over is, I am God's child. I am God's expression. My home is love. God's brilliance flows through me. I give my time daily to listen to these instructions, to this brilliance, so that I can live it and share it. I turn my fears and challenges to opportunities, because I know that God, the quantum field, the unified field, the love that we live in, is nudging me forward to my next step. And I listen only to the voice of God that comes through the silence, because I know that it is guiding me to my highest good, my most exalted self. I am grateful for those nudges. I am truly grateful for those nudges. And I hope you are too. And the one more thing that the Bible tells us is that it's God's great pleasure to give me the kingdom. And it comes through as I listen deeper. And that just means meditation. Learn to discipline the mind so you can actually hear. And by the way, the story of the prodigal son is in one of my books over there, and it's in the blue book. There, 3 of them are blue, so you could switch one. But anyway, so I would love to point that out to you or share it with you if you're when and if you're ready. And so we go back to the affirmation for today. And the affirmation was, we can all say it together actually. That would be cool, if I can find it. Okay, ready?
Yes.
I am always at home in my Father's house. I set my birthright as a child of God.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a moment and just get that processed inside. Let's take a moment and just really experience it, okay? So we take a moment to close our eyes and breathe. And as you breathe through your belly, you're actually breathing through your whole being. And we open to this beautiful light that flows through us. This light is the love of God. And this light is our true self. So imagine a light that is flowing through you from the top of your head all the way down to your tippy toes and into the earth. And this light is our guide. It is our truth. No matter what's going on in your life, you will feel the love of God in that moment by turning to this light. And so we let it filter through our whole being, through our mind, through our body, through every cell, every organ, and we surrender to it completely. I am so grateful. I am so grateful. I am so grateful. Just feel this for a moment. Be in the stillness. And receive it. And now with that in place, and it will be in place forevermore throughout your day, throughout your life, bring your attention back to this moment in the physical world where we get to celebrate each other and life in general. All right? So open your eyes and take a deep breath and back here, home again. So it is.